Okay, now, first thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to get one of these switches out of here really quick and easy without having to have extra solder, desoldering tools, anything elaborate. This basically is just for people who want to get this done as quickly as possible without a big investment. If you do or don't know how to solder, all a soldering iron is an iron that gets very hot. Solder is a combination of two metals with a very low melting point. What you're doing here is you're liquefying metal. And the easiest way to do this is to grab a hold of this switch so that you're acting like you would pull it loose, keeping a little pressure on it. As an example, if I held here and this and just pulled it out, you want to keep a little bit of pressure on this, and then take the soldering iron, touch it to one side once it's good and warm, and you'll liquefy the metal on one side. You'll feel it pull up a little, touch the other side, it'll pull it up, go back a little bit more, and that's it. You'll have one switch up and off, and you're good to go. Then you can take your other switch, line it up, set this thing over here so I don't set myself on fire. Like I said in the other video, you really cannot do this wrong because this only goes on one way. You line your plastic tabs up, get it in position, get your two metal pieces lined up on the holes, and just kind of leave it set there. Now, it's not going to go all the way into the board because you've got solder that's cooled back off plugging the holes. So the way to do this is to do the same thing you did before. Touch the solder, let it get a little warm, except this time you're keeping pressure the other direction, pushing this way with the switches. You press the one, warm the solder, press the other one, warm the solder, and just go back and forth a couple times. And after you do this, side to side a little, your switch will be all the way in. It should be completely flat, and you shouldn't be able to see a gap between this board and the bottom of the switch. When you've got that like that, and it's completely down, just try to touch on here until you're making good contact. Now, this one, I kind of lollygagged around a little bit, and I'll have to touch this up with a little bit more solder. But that's the easier way to get these off without any elaborate tools or anything of that nature. Switch is on, and it's good to go. The other one, I'm going to do this a little bit more the way you would normally do this. To do this switch the way I just did this one, you don't need any extra tools, you don't need big investment. Borrow a soldering iron off somebody, you can buy one at Walmart, you can get them several different places. Usually they'll have a little bit of solder with them. One point, the two types of solder you can get are rosin core and acid core. Inside the solder, this is basically like a straw. It's got a ring of metal, and then in the middle will be chemical kind of as a gel, or even a little bit thicker than that when it's cool. And one of them is acid core, the other is rosin core. This is electronics. You never use acid core solder on electronics. The reason is the acid is acid, and if you use acid core, it will eat into the board and your switch over a period of time, and it'll do damage. Only rosin core on electronics. Most of the time, with a small soldering iron, that's what you'll get anyway, will be rosin core solder. So that's all you'll have to fool with. And that's about it. What you'll do, once you get your switch back in, turn it over, run your screws in, put it back together, you're done.